So you might have some very interesting assets that you love. Maybe you're an art collector, you have a really cool car, or maybe even like I had a client with a Barbie doll collection, and you're wondering, should I put these into a trust? What should I do with these things? How do I make sure that they still get to the person that I want to name? In this video, we're going to talk all about that. So there's certain types of assets that might need to go in the trust, but might not. All right. And one big category is your tangible personal property. What is tangible personal property? Well, basically that's any stuff that's not locked down on real property. So it's things that you can hold, that you can move. This could be any stuff in your house. It could be jewelry. It could be art. It could be paintings. It could be your car. It could be your furniture. Anything that you have, you can decide where it goes. But how do you get it into your trust? Do you want to say trust on everything? The challenge is most of those items don't have a title to them. So, I mean, you may have some very expensive jewelry that you've had appraised, and maybe it does have title, but most assets like that don't have title. You're just storing it in a jewelry box or in a safe in your house. So what we do is something called a general assignment. We say, I want everything that's not my house, everything inside of my house to go into the trust. It's just a big sweeping document. And then you can say, in the trust, you can say, I want all my jewelry to go to my daughter, I want this to go to this person or this to go to that person. But what I usually suggest is instead of writing all of that into the trust, you can have a separate list, a separate memo. It says, I want this item to go to this person, this item to go to this person. Then you sign and date it. And in the trust, we say, hey, trustee, please look for a separate memo where I'm saying where I want my stuff to go. And the trustee just about always will carry out your wishes that you've written up. And they're supposed to look for the most recently signed and dated list. Okay, we love keeping that list just in case, just to make sure that we can pass it along to the trustee upon your death, but you don't have to provide it to us. But make sure that it's in a place that the trustee can find it. Now, why wouldn't you put this in your will? Well, the will goes through the probate court system, and we want to avoid the probate courts. So we want everything to be dictated in the trust. Now, what if you have an interesting collection, like that Barbie doll collection I mentioned? I had this great client a guy who lived in San Francisco, and he said, hey, there's one person who I want to dispose of my Barbie doll collection because she will understand. She's in Oakland, and she'll understand exactly what all these pieces are worth, how we can get the best price for them. And so we named, in the trust, we named somebody else's trustee, but we named that woman in Oakland as the Special Independent Trustee. We had somebody just delegated to deal with that type of asset, with those Barbie dolls that were, original collector's items. And upon that person's death, we'll have the trustee managing everything else, but those Barbie dolls are carved out and will be managed and disposed of by the person that he named it as the Special Independent Trustee. Okay, now what about your cars? Those do have title. What do I do? Do I need to transfer them into the trust? Well, the DMV has a special way to transfer your car to the next person upon your death. They actually have an affidavit that the successor trustee can fill out and sign when you're gone. And this is what it looks like. So if you go to the DMV or the AAA, you can get this form. Now, don't fill it out now. If you're still alive and you own your car, that's totally fine. This is just to say, where should that car go, right? So you'd write all the information about the car, and then you say that you, when you die, right? You, the owner of the car and the place of your death, you don't have a probate estate. So you don't have over $184,500 outside of your trust, outside of a beneficiary designation. And it's going to the beneficiaries, or it's passing on behalf of the trust. So the trustee gets to decide where it goes. And then basically you sign and date it. You submit this with the death certificate and you get released a new pink slip. Now they may ask for a copy of the trust, but it's really pretty easy. If you're very concerned and you're married, you can always put your spouse also on title, so then it can pass easily to the next person. But I usually recommend, unless you have a very expensive car, I usually recommend not going through all the hassle of retitling the car in the trust, but instead there's an affidavit that's useful upon your death.
Hey everyone! If you liked my mom's video, like, and subscribe.
Now, what about business interests? A lot of people own like a portion of an LLC, or maybe they have an S Corp. My business is an S Corp. So how would I get that into the trust? So I can actually do what we call an assignment of interest. So I say, I hereby assign my interest in such and such corporation to the Cookman Family Trust, or whatever my trust is named. And then I sign and date it. And that's the way to get that asset into the trust upon my death and to avoid probate. Now, if you're a partial owner of an LLC, you'll want to take a look at the operating account to make sure that it allows you to transfer your interest into the trust. You can also retitle your interest in the trust. Some people do that, though that can be a little bit more cumbersome. Now, what if you're a professional? If you're a doctor or a dentist or a psychologist or an attorney and you have your own practice, what's going to happen to that practice when you go? Well, again, you can do an assignment of the interest in your practice to the trust. And I also suggest in your will, you can name who you want to manage your business when you're gone. And typically you would name somebody of the same profession, right? If you're a dentist, you'll name the dentist that you want to take over your practice. So that's kind of how it passes. So you have the assignment and you have the will where you name out, who's going to be taking that over. And then the executor can figure out how much is this valued at and can do the transaction. So I hope that gives you an idea for these unusual assets. How do we get them into the trust and make sure that they don't fall through the cracks, that they go where we want them to go? I do have a video overall of funding your trust that goes into more detail of the normal assets, and I encourage you to go watch that right over here. I'll see you there.
Hello everyone. If you liked my mom's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you all next time.